We all lose in video games all the time, but only sometimes do we lose in really stupid ways, thanks to the game itself setting us up for failure. Here are 10 of the dumbest ways to lose in a video game. Starting off with number 10, Resident Evil 4. Early on in the game, you know, the lake scene with the boat, with the monster. Well, before you hop on the boat and actually engage with the monster, if you hang out by the dock, maybe a little too close to the water, shoot at the water, the monster will just eat you. And then game over. You lost. You miss out on the actual cool encounter of the sea monster thing. Nope, he just jumps the gun early and kills you. It's really stupid because it's a horror game and you know something's gonna go down in this foggy, creepy lake, and yet you hang around by the water and maybe shoot it. What did you expect was gonna happen? But at least you get an achievement or a trophy for doing it. Now over at number 9, let's talk about SpiderMan III, the game based on the movie. Yikes. Well, SpiderMan 2 was obviously an incredible and awesome open world Spider-Man game. SpiderMan 3 kinda didn't live up to the name. It did have some creative things here and there, but technically it was kind of a mess and it was weird. But thankfully, the game developers were able to experiment and do some weird, dumb things here and there, and some of those were the quick times. Most notably one very early on in the game. The intro is essentially Spider-Man doing a basic saving mission. There's a laboratory exploding and he's got to get people out and get out to safety, and there's a big quick time thing with him flipping around and you have to hit the button for him to properly shoot his web and flip. And you've probably seen this meme before, but at one point there's a scientist strapped to a bomb. She says, "Help me, Spider-Man." You jump, you have to hit the button to successfully swing over and save her. If you miss that button, incredibly well done and really stupid, and it's a really dumb way to die in a video game, but also it's probably one of the funnier ones. Now over at number 8, Demon Souls is all about death, of course, so, you know, one of the first things the game throws at you is a boss. That's the name of the game here. Vanguard is the boss, who pretty much is guaranteed to kill you. Now, after dying to it, that's when the real game starts. You're booted out of the tutorial area, and you can't come back. But it is possible, if you're a persistent enough player, it's possible to kill this guy. Now remember, he can kill you in like 1 or 2 hits, and it's in a tiny area, so it's way easier said than done. After going through all of the trouble of taking him out, you'd think there would be some awesome reward waiting for you, but no. Instead, you go down a hallway and come face to face with this dude, the Dragon's God. Your reward for taking out the tutorial boss and really overachieving and defeating something that was essentially designed to kill you, the game just kills you again, and they kill you way harder this time. You just get blasted by a fist bigger than your entire body, and that's it. No reward, nothing. It's just a total troll by the developers. If you quit the game and replay the tutorial just to beat the Vanguard, you're probably gonna be feeling pretty stupid after all this, so we know we did. Now over at number 7, Assassin's Creed 3 had a hunting mechanic. Connor would be able to, in the open environments, track down and kill animals and use their skins. But, believe it or not, killing too many animals without using them properly would desynchronize you. And if you remember the earlier Assassin's Creed games, doing things out of character or not in line with that memory would cause you to desynchronize. So of course, dying, that's not intended for you, so that's desynchronizing. But doing other random things like killing civilians would do it too. And believe it or not, here, Assassin's Creed 3 didn't want you mindlessly killing animals for no reason because Connor wouldn't have done that in his life. Essentially, the game wanted to make you act like a true hunter, especially for the time period, conscious of the environment and appreciative of the animals and all that they bring you upon their death. So like, it's like a very actually type of way of dying. It is really dumb, but it's kind of clever if you think about it. Now over at number 6, the Far Cry series has more recently been notorious for having weird alternate endings. Now of course Far Cry 4 has the opening scene where the bad guy Pagan Min gives you a whole monologue and then he gets a phone call and says, "Wait right there, I'll be right back." That's of course when you choose to leave and go out onto your video game adventure. But of course if you sit there and wait long enough, he'll come back and say, "Oh, hey, thanks for waiting, let's wrap this up," and then you get a cutscene that kind of abruptly wraps up the story of the whole game. So that's not really essentially you losing, but Far Cry 5 takes it to a level of you actually feeling like you lost and just for being dumb. In the beginning of the game, of course, you confront the cult leader and he gives himself up to be arrested, and then you have to actually trigger the action of cuffing him. But if you just wait around and don't click, you and the other officers will basically say, this is not good. We will not leave this place alive if we do this, so you walk away. That is technically you losing, and I don't really think it's too dumb unless you are the type of player who just didn't realize you had to press a button and you sat there for that long for this thing to trigger. Then that kind of makes you a little dumb, but hey, we've all been there sometimes. Now, next at number 5, Battlefield 3 had a moment in the campaign where you encountered a rat while crawling in a sewer, and if you missed kind of like the little quick time stab event thing to kill the rat, you would get a cutscene where the rat kind of distracts you by chewing on your finger, and then a soldier finds you and shoots you, and then the rat just kind of watches you die. The animation is really good. Just watch it here. I think me talking about it just kills it, but it's really funny. They even went as far as to have like a middle finger animation where the player character gives the rat the middle finger. Again, like I said, props to the people who make Battlefield, because they've always had really cool little animations like this here and there, like the reloading animations you've probably seen, we've done videos on before. Also, apparently this rat death was visceral enough to make media headlines and get PETA to go after the game, which was a thing for a second. Regardless, it was a nice moment to make the player just feel really dumb. It is a dumb way to die, and it's also not the only rat death in this video. Now, over at number 4, if you know how robots and if you know how computers work, this dumb way to die totally makes sense in Nier Automata. The game has a really great RPG system of you giving yourself different perks and attributes and abilities by equipping chips to your character. You can swap and stack these chips in different way to kind of maximize your character build, but one of the chips you have, if you want to fully customize, is an OS chip, an operating chip. So you can actually click on it and remove it in game. Now, if you know anything about computers, if you remove an operating system, it's kind of like turning the lights out. And that's exactly what happens in Nier Automata. The game just straight up ends. Good job, you killed yourself. While this is dumb and really funny, and the game gives you the option to just accidentally totally make that mistake right there, it is definitely not the strangest thing Nier Automata does by any means. You should definitely play it if you haven't. Now down to number 3, 1994's System Shock, the classic PC game for PC gamers. This one has a weird alternate ending that kind of isn't really an ending, but it's dumb and funny because it's a stupid mistake you can make. So the villain, Shodan, essentially wants to destroy all major cities on planet Earth to kind of wipe out the flaw of the human race and just assume dominance. There is a big laser on the station intended to do this, and you can find the controls and you can just activate the laser. And then boom, good job, you destroy cities all across Earth, and Shodan actually messages you and says, thank you. Basically, you did a job for her. You saw the big red button and you pushed the big red button. You dummy, what do you think was gonna happen? Now down to number 2, The Matrix, Path of Neo. First of all, is an incredibly underrated game. Not a lot of video games based on movies get to do all creative, weird things like the Path of Neo does, but it's totally worth experiencing, even if it's still a little busted in 2020. The earlier hours of the game see you playing through the early events of the first movie, especially the actual conversation and sit down with Morpheus, where he presents Neo with the choice of the red pill to find out where the rabbit hole goes and goes on this whole adventure, or the blue pill, where you just kind of wake up like nothing ever happened and you just stay in your blissfully ignorant world. The game actually gives you the choice, the 2 pills in Morpheus's hand. You can click on the blue pill, you take the blue pill, Morpheus says, well, I guess you weren't who we thought you were, and then there's like this little trippy sequence, and Neo, who is still essentially Mr. Anderson at this point, wakes up at his computer like nothing ever happened. I just really hope that someone wasn't paying attention or they just clicked on it anyway, but like, if you're playing this game, didn't you see the movie? You know what was gonna happen, come on. Now over at number 1, one of the dumbest ways to die in a video game, and probably one of the funnier ones, is from the original Max Payne. This is an Easter egg from the very early level, live from the crime scene. I actually did not know this was a thing until years after originally playing the game, but apparently early on in the game, if you're slick enough to get early access to a grenade, you can throw it into a hole. That then triggers an on-screen little thing that says, I had declared a war against rats. I can't help but say it in the Max Payne voice because that's what it is. So basically, it doesn't really mean anything for a little while. You play through the level, you kill some dudes, you get up to the part where you hear the bomb explosion, and then the rats on the floor in that area of the game have guns, Desert Eagles and Berettas, and they just start shooting at you. Getting killed by rats that just kind of have floating pistols around them is the funniest thing, and I can't stress it enough how dumb it is, but it's dumb in a really good way. There are many more dumb ways to die in video games, so we'd love to hear yours in the comments. Have you ever just made a simple mistake in a game, or have you ever discovered something that the game set up to make you feel dumb and make you lose on purpose? Let's talk about anything dumb that happens in video games down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.